Hello and welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's Face-to-Face series. Today I'm going to be talking with Hoffman Ma, who's the Deputy Chairman of Success Universe Group, which is the operator of Ponte 16 in Macau's historic inner harbour. We're going to be talking about the future of satellite casinos, GGR recovery over the Chinese New Year, and the changing face of the clientele in Macau. Thank you very much for joining us today, Hoffman. It's great to have you with us. I just wanted to start off by talking a little bit about Chinese New Year. It seems like the figures that came through have been better than people were expecting. Why do you think that was?
I think, well, first it's the Macau government and the Guangdong government worked really hard to contain the virus in order for them to allowing more people starting the third day into the Chinese New Year into Macau. I think that helped a bit, even though the travel restrictions remain at 48 hours for the COVID test. But I think, due to the holiday mood, the visitors are still willing to take that test in order to go to Macau. Macau contained that one case went into the society and got that travel restrictions resolved in about a week. I think that really helped making the Chinese New Year holiday better than people expected.
It seems like the spending per player was very good as well, even though the visitation numbers weren't as high, perhaps the spending was still good. Is that right?
Yeah. No, well, I think a lot of which were pushed from the VIP market into the mass market is I would assume everybody have heard the news that the VIP, the junket groups has been clamped down. So I think that news triggered a lot of customers who normally would have gone to VIP went into mass market. And that obviously provides a better bottom line and volume for the market.
And what have you been seeing at Ponte 16 since the after the Chinese New Year? Has the trend continued?
Well, we have 2 days of full house. That's the third and the fourth day of the Chinese New Year. And from that onward, we have been maintaining about 60% occupancy.
So let's move on a little bit to the gaming law. What's your overall impression and how will it affect you?
Well, I think, the new gaming law obviously affect all of the satellite casinos. And I think, both the government and all the existing players are trying to resolve that into a structure where we can still operate and not having to, sell the shares or the property to the concessionaires. But I think we still have about 3 to 4 months to resolve that.
And is it your understanding that the concessionaire has to have 100% of the building, or would it be okay for them to have just a majority stake, like in your case?
Well, that's the part that the government hasn't been clear. Basically, the entire market does not have any direction how to restructure the ownership. If 51% is okay, then that ownership will allow satellite casino to restructure into that direction. But when it's not clear, then I think it's a bit difficult at least for satellite casino to start moving at this moment.
In terms of the government caps on, the government set limits on GGR per table or per slot, do you see any issues with that?
Well, yes, but no. Well, it really depends on how the government set that limit. Because for any casino operations, I think it makes sense for all the tables to be productive. Otherwise, it wouldn't mean anything sitting there. But if that limit is more flexible, then I think most of the casinos will be more aggressive with putting tables, and that will generate more working opportunities. That's good for the labor market in Macau. If that gets too tight, especially during something like the COVID, then if casinos are forced to have their tables taken away, I don't think that's very good for the market, especially the labor market. So I think that needs to be carefully considered by the government, especially different operations have different cost to run a table. So I think it's better for the government to set a minimum at a reasonably low level to cater different operations.
And what about other aspects of the gaming law? Were you generally quite positive? Were there any other concerns for you?
Well, I think, in general, I think the government has taken midway after the research that they've done with the industry players, and now I think I wouldn't say everyone's happy, but I think everyone is comfortable moving forward, other than the treatment of the satellite casino.
Okay. We didn't talk about the junkets. I mean, are you seeing any junket play at all? Are you still working with junkets at Ponte 16?
No. Well, we don't have any junket hall operations, outsourced VIP halls, starting September of 2019.
Yeah. So it hasn't affected you at all then, all of this turmoil in the VIP market? Well, first of all, I think the earlier batch to believe that a mass market is the long-term development as a whole to have more growth than VIP. So I think with our operation in the old town of Macau, I think that's an edge for us to focus on mass market rather than doing both. Do you have any future plans for more development at Ponte 16?
We have a second phase to be developed at the moment. But for us, I think we need the direction to be clear from the government in order for us to decide how we're going to proceed with that second phase.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Everything's in limbo. Yeah. What about the Macau market as a whole, Hoffman? When do you see it getting back to 2019 levels, or do you think it ever will?
Well, it's all about COVID, I think, and the travel restrictions with Hong Kong. I think if that's settled, Macau can progressively go back into 50% of pre-COVID easily. That's going to be visitation driven, because assuming, in the future, it's going to be a mass market focus. And as we all know, China and Hong Kong contributes to about 80% plus into Macau. So getting back to 50% pre-COVID will rely on opening up to both China and Hong Kong.
Given the mainland government pushing very hard now for Macau to diversify its economy and to not rely so heavily on gaming, do you think they would still be comfortable with levels of gaming revenue that we saw in 2019, or do you think they see a smaller market, smaller mass market, family focused?
Okay, well, that depends on which angle you're looking it from. For the government, well, as you know, pre-COVID, mass market and VIB both contributes about 50% to the GGR. But mass market obviously has a lot higher bottom line comparing to VIP market. So for the mass market to get back to 100%, I don't think it's that difficult. That's why I was pointing out earlier that for Macau to get back to 50% pre-COVID wouldn't be difficult. It's a matter of time. So assuming building from existing numbers, I would assume a 10% growth in average every month in order to get back to that level will be a reasonable projection, because it's all about lifting the travel restriction and building up the momentum. And I think that will be the general direction. And for the VIP, well, a lot of projections predict that only about 10% to 20% max back to pre-COVID.
So you've been focusing on the mass, and I assume the premium mass, since 2019. What kind of changes have you made at Ponte 16 to accommodate that? Have you changed the gaming floor, reconfigured any of your product lines?
Okay. Well, first, we have shut down the VIP halls as I mentioned earlier. So those tables were all shifted into the mass market, and then we have created a point system with all the neighboring shops and restaurants. So we are promoting the Macanese culture as a community within our area. I think that's something we can do to create synergy with the neighborhood for our business. I think that has helped quite a bit, because we're a smaller property, not like a mega resort that can have a lot of different offerings. But what we're doing is we partner with all the surrounding businesses and restaurants. So, the points customers earn can be used in the neighborhood.
So just to explain to any of our viewers who don't know, you are in the old town on the inner harbour. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Ponte 16?
Ponte 16 itself, it's a historical clock tower. That's the first ferry terminal that goes out of Macau to any other places. And when that terminal was moved to outer harbour, the inner harbour terminal has become a historical building, but without any other support to promote tourism in that area. And that's when we proposed to the government to allow us to build a hotel casino there, connecting with the clock tower, and then stimulating the neighborhood into a development that's more with more history of Macau to promote.
Interesting. Interesting. If I can just go back to gaming trends a little
Mhm.
bit, have you seen any differences in your clients' preferences since COVID? Have been any changes there?
Um, okay, I think the market is shifting into younger players. That tends to gamble or spend less time playing on the table with a lot higher spending capacity, especially F&B and other entertainment offerings. So I think it's going into a good direction that Macau can potentially be more diversified, allowing more profitable offerings other than only gaming.
Thank you very much for joining us, Hoffman. That's great. Thank you for joining us today. Please tune in every Friday for Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series, our interviews with thought leaders in Asia's gaming industry.